Do you remember that one time at band camp? If that statement brought you someplace else and made you think of something, then you're feeling nostalgia. Hi, I'm your host, Joe, and today's topic on Any Topic Tango, nostalgia. So let's start with what nostalgia really is. Nostalgia is a feeling that you get when something, it could be a smell, it could be a taste, it could be anything, uh, takes you out of your body. It could be a sound, like eh, there's a lot of things it could be that trigger this response in your brain. But how do you characterize it? Like what uh, what comes into your head when you think of actually what comes in your head when you think of nostalgia? Because nostalgia on its own is nostalgia. When you say the word nostalgia, you think of something, right? So I'm going to give you a small example of how smell can can be nostalgic. So like take here standard Febreze. It's got gain, you know, spray it, oh, oof, a little strong. Um, so that smell immediately triggers something in my brain. And what that thing is I think about when I was younger, when I was a kid, when I was at my grandmother's house, because this is the smell. The Febreze smell and the pine sol smell. Those were always two big smells that were in my grandmother's house. So whenever I smell that, it takes me back to when I was 9 or 10 years old, running around in the house. Now, nostalgia just doesn't have to be a smell, it could be a taste. Maybe you've gone out to a restaurant and maybe you've tasted some food that tasted like something your mother used to make, or your grandmother used to make, or your dad used to make, or your grandpa used to make, or someone else of significance in your life. Usually nostalgia is tied to significance. So like when you eat a dish and uh it tastes like something your grandma would have made, and unfortunately, like if she's not with us, uh you're going through nostalgia, right? You're thinking back to those old days. You're thinking back to a different time where you're not tasting it at that restaurant for just a brief moment in your mind. You're not even there. You're so many years back, you're sitting down and you're at your grandma's kitchen table or your mom's kitchen table and you're eating something. It's just the way the brain works. It's really weird actually when you think about it, because the brain, like, it doesn't do that consciously. That is a subconscious thing. So just how much does the subconscious mind keep in that it allows us, so when we taste something or when we see something or when we hear something and we go back to that nostalgic moment, uh, how much information does our brain really store? Like, how much information is actually memorized in the subconscious mind? Because I know a lot of people, conscious memory, we tend to forget things. We tend to forget a lot of things. Um, I'm pretty sure everybody in that life has that one friend that owes them 20 bucks. They forgot about it. I haven't. I have not. I have not forgotten about the $20. But anywho, let's get back to it. So nostalgia can be a taste. It can be uh, it could be the smell, and it can be a sound. I don't know. Have you ever been walking through the grocery store shopping, or walking through an outlet, or heard a song on the radio for just that split second? You're not there, you're somewhere else listening to that song, or you think of something and it just reminds you. Um, so, like, a perfect example of that is for me is the Minecraft music. So music from the video game Minecraft, it just always takes me back, and it always puts me in this place where I'm not 30 something years old. I am I'm 14 again playing Minecraft with all of my friends on the Xbox 360. So when you think about it, yeah, that's how nostalgia really works. Like it's a feeling, it's an emotion, and it causes a lot of other things to come down. Um, like you start thinking more and more and more. As the world gets crazier with all of the stuff that's happening, we tend to be a lot more nostalgic as a people. So rather than thinking about we'll say the stuff that's going on in Iran or in Israel or in the United States or in Canada or whatever news thing you're thinking of, because there's heaven fucking forbid, there's so much shit going on that we bank on nostalgia as a form of kind of escaping it, right? So nostalgia has become more than just that. It's become a coping tool now. Now, when I was messing around and generating uh I was generating some stuff on AI to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? What am I going to talk about? And so I kind of did it and I read the script. So the one issue that Google Gemini has when it does the what's the word I'm looking for? When it does the response is it ties nostalgia to someone who who's really old. But I don't think that's the case. I mean, you could be 20 years old and be nostalgic about certain things. You could be you could be 18 and, oh, remember back in grade 9? Like your see, graduation's a huge thing, right? We make a big deal out of the ceremony where you leave school. And for a whole afternoon at your graduation ceremony, you get your diploma, you graduate your school, you usually shake hands with your principal, you shake hands with your guidance counselor, whatever have you in that scenario. But um, you spend the whole ceremony looking at old photos, looking at the times you had within those 4 years, 5 years in high school. I mean, I know personally for me, um, in high school, I actually did 5 years of high school because after four, I still felt I wasn't prepared and had no idea what I wanted to do. Um, Jokes on them. I'm in my fucking 30s and I still have no idea what I want to do. I just know what I am doing right now. I still don't know what exactly I want to do. The right career path has just not presented itself to me in that way. So for now, I'll just keep continuing doing my garbage truck. But again, not the point. So yeah, so that's basically like nostalgia. So I don't know, like what makes you nostalgic? What makes you think? What smell? What taste? What sound? Uh, like for a lot of the older generation out there who are watching these videos, uh, you'll know the 1-800-588-2300. It's that Empire commercial, where they're pulling the couch up, they got the rug, they're laying down the carpet and everything, like that's a very nostalgic thing. That's an old commercial. Um, some people, when I say the name Bob Barker or Howie Mandel, right? They'll know that those are old game show hosts, right? Deal or No Deal. You had Wheel of Fortune. Like those are nostalgic things. And even saying that, in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, like I remember spending Saturday afternoons at my grandma's, and there'd be reruns of this TV show uh, of the Wheel of Fortune, going on, and it was always something. Yeah, it was always a spectacle. Game shows. I don't know what game shows are just synonymous with older people. I don't know what it is. Well, younger people too now, I guess. I mean, with the whole Mr. Beast thing and stuff like that, right? But yeah, no, it's all nostalgia. Like it just brings you back. Like, like a certain song. Maybe you're 16 years old. Maybe you buy your first piece of crap car, and you just happen to um, listen to a certain song when you drove it for the first time. You felt It was probably a complete piece of shit car, but you remember it. You remember that feeling. You remember the feeling of freedom. Because when you look at nostalgia, like that's what you're thinking about. You're thinking about the emotions you felt, everything you felt in that exact moment. And it just hits the brain so heavy that it just throws you for a loop. So, in the end of it, yes, I do not think nostalgia is based on age. I think the only thing that's based on age is nostalgic events. Like when I say, or when I talk about, if I say the phrase the Twin Towers, everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to elaborate any further on what I've said. And for a brief second in your head, you might have gone back to when you found out the news that the towers have collapsed, right? So nostalgia is this thing. It can be good. Sometimes it could be bad. I mean, it depends on how you think. Realistically, it depends on how you think. Like when that day happened in 2001, I remember being at school, and I remember the teachers all talking about it. I remember everybody was panicking, you know, because this was a global event that had happened. So nostalgia plays a huge role in society, whether we want to or not, because now that's something we learn about in our history books. Our history books tell us this. So, and that's basically what nostalgia is that feeling where you go back in time, right? It's like you've got a time machine in your head, and every time something triggers it, you're there again. Whether you're 16 years old driving your car, or you're whatever age having your first relationship with a person. I think there's some people who would understand what I'm saying. I'm not really going to say it that way, but you know what I mean. Um, yeah. So, or people remember their first beer with their dad, or remember their first beer with whoever is significant in your life, or their first cup of coffee, right? Like I still remember my first cup of coffee. I remember it was my dad who offered it to me. He says, "Hey," he says, "You want to try some coffee?" And I said, "Okay." Well, we poured a little bit in the cup, and oh god, I hated it back then. But now it's become a fuel source for me. I live off of it. So nostalgia just takes you back to this moment in time where everything is different. It could be for good reasons, it could be for bad reasons, but that's exactly what nostalgia does. Nostalgia pulls you out of where you are and puts you back in a different era, for even if it's for a split second, like it just happens, right? So, like I'm gonna tell a story here about the song, or well, about a song, right? So the song was it was a Motley Crue song. It was on the Theater of Pain album, and it was oh, I'm drawing a blank here. But anyways, so every time I hear that song, I think back to I think back to when my buddy Ryan had first started being able to drive, and me and him would go for a cruise. That was the old cassette tape that was in the truck, and every time it was just we had it cranked, and we were laughing. We thought we were untouchable driving around. You get that feeling where, yeah, and even then, like, it gives you that warm butterfly feeling in your stomach, because you think about that memory, and you know, you think about how much that meant to you, as small as it is. Because, like, I don't know about any of you guys, but the way I live my life is I never take anything for granted. I never take even the smallest things. I try not to take for granted. Um, Stuff like when people hold the door open for me, when people are nice to me, uh, like I never take it for granted, because it's important in life, and you have to enjoy the small things no matter what. So, and nostalgia is just one of those ways that I kind of enjoy life. Sometimes I'll sit down and I'll have a beverage or two, and I'll just play music that I listened to in high school, or I'll play songs that me and my grandfather listened to. Right, he was a big fan of Hank Williams, senior, not junior, not junior. He was older. He was in his 80s when he passed away back in '06. So it was all Hank Williams Senior. So we listened to a lot of Hank Williams Senior. In fact, even today, Hank Williams Senior is still on my playlists. So, but yeah, it's nostalgia, right? And that's why I say like nostalgia isn't just an age thing, because in '06, I would have been like 14 or 13 years old, right? I would have been still super young, still not fully conceptualized in life, but I remember it. I remember some of the things we talked about like it was yesterday. And every time I hear a certain phrase, or someone coughs a certain way, or someone every time I see a um, I have a Matabi Mines mug, white mug. It's got the two paddles on it, and it says Matabi. Every time I see that coffee mug, I think of my grandpa, because he used to drink. My grandma and grandpa used to have a whole bunch of those mugs, and they used to have their coffee out of it, coffee and tea. My grandpa was coffee for a while, and then as he got older, it was all tea. My grandma, she always drinks tea, so I just instinctively know that never to make coffee for them, for her. Unfortunately, he's not with us, but such is life, right? Um, yeah, so that's basically it for what I'm going to say about nostalgia. Um, Actually, I'm going to go with one more example here. Another good example of nostalgia is when they play, like a lot of places when you go shopping, they'll play like that '70s and '80s playlist, and there's certain songs that just would take you back to. For me, when I hear the songs, I think a little bit different than other people, I guess, because I wasn't born in the '70s and '80s. I was a '90s kid, so when I hear like a '70s song, like I think of when I was younger, and my parents used to listen to it all, and I still today listen to it all. But um, yeah, so for that, in my mind, triggers that kind of response. But for other people, it might be something else. And let me know what your favorite nostalgic moment is. Um, so actually, movies nostalgic too. Um, Toy Story 5 came out recently. Now, I didn't watch much of the Disney universe when I was a kid, but Toy Story was definitely one of the things I did see. And when I first saw the trailer for Toy Story 5, it immediately took me back to when I was a kid when I watched the first Toy Story. So, yeah, so nostalgia could be even something you just see. Maybe you walk by someone with a Motley Crue t-shirt on, and you think back to a Motley Crue concert that you went to back in the day. Or maybe you see a t-shirt with a Mustang or a Shelby on it, and you think about working on an old car. Like nostalgia is just one of those things. It it's beautiful. Honestly, I think nostalgia is important. But in saying that, it is very important not to get caught up in nostalgia. Because yes, it's okay to feel nostalgic, but there is a very fine line between being nostalgic and just living in the past, right? Because as it stands, we have to keep moving forward with whatever we're doing. It's okay to take a step back and think about the old days, but at the same time, so like the example I used earlier with sitting in here and listening to music that I listened to in high school. Yeah, it's fun for a night, but I don't want to live in the past either, right? I have to keep moving forward and keep doing what I would like to do in order to enjoy my life. Because if you live in the past too much, that can cause depression, and you don't want that, right? You always want to be the happiest version of yourself, whatever that may look like. So yeah, so that's all for my nostalgia video. Um, Let me know about what makes you nostalgic. What thing or what song or what sound or what taste just takes you away from where you are and puts you into a whole nother place. So if you like what you see, like and subscribe. Again, if there's any topics that you guys would like to discuss, just let me know. Um, I'm still currently drafting and working on the highway episode that is coming. Um, so for now, I guess have a great day, everyone. We'll see you around.